Hello, everybody, and welcome to the third installment of Occam's Razor, a series of videos where a balding millennial shares his totally unbiased and wholly logical opinions on the paranormal and supernatural with you, the viewer. Thank you all for joining me, and I hope that we can all learn something today. But looking at these comments to the video I'm looking at today, I think my work's cut out for me. But I'm not one to let something like that stop me because I'm fucking stubborn. So let's just get right into it. Today we are going to be looking at Paranormal Nightmares, a TV show that is on Amazon Prime. It's done by the Foreman brothers, three dudes that think they had a shared paranormal experience as children. And okay, first of all, if this is real, then it's statistically just an underexperienced and overactive imaginative brain that children think that they see ghosts and shit. But my money is on this whole thing being a Hollywood ploy, a TV gimmick to sell the idea of why they are doing this TV show, which is totally not to capitalize monetarily on the ignorance of their audience. No way. All that aside, they're just another Ghost Adventures clone that do more sitting in the dark and talking to each other than they do anything that can be considered close to legitimate research or investigation. And like in so many of these investigations, they can't even decide exactly what it is they are investigating. You know, I wonder how many research papers in the history of all of science have ever been published or even taken seriously when they have no defined parameters of what the fuck it is they're studying. None of these paranormal groups can sit together in a room and go, this is exactly what it is we're here to investigate. There's no definitive box that we can put ghosts and spirits and the paranormal into because there's just no lines that we can draw around it. We don't know what the fuck it is, and neither do they. So this is the family that they are investigating. It's an apartment complex in their specific apartment in the apartment complex. So the family at first says the place is haunted by the ghost of a little girl that was murdered there. Then later says they hear voices of an old man saying that he wants to steal their souls. If you're thinking that that escalated quickly, then I thought the same thing. The family, as well as some other friends, some super reliable teenagers of their friends of theirs, go on about some murders that did happen in that specific apartment in the mid 1990s, and how some black guy who was convicted, sentenced to death, but then pardoned by the governor due to lack of evidence. But it wasn't enough of a lack of evidence to let him out of prison completely, I guess. It's all of a bit small towny and fucked. Anyways, this family and their friends believe he is innocent, and it's a corrupt police department, and they convicted the man wrongly, even going as far as saying that they're happy and supportive of Kim Kardashian, who has, for whatever reason, taken a personal looking into the case. Honestly, if I were that dude, I would be devastated. Not only am I sitting in jail for something I didn't do, but my only hope is now the woman who looked at Kanye West and decided, well, this is going to be good. This is a good choice. What is odd, inconsistent, and ruins the potential for any theories they come up with is why they keep on bringing up this dude's innocence in the first place. Like the spirits would somehow be at ease if this man were free or something. But this implies that the real murderer is still at large, right? I guess that maybe that's their point, that these ghosts will never rest and will keep haunting their apartment until the killer is caught and brought to justice. But then, who the fuck is this tall, dark figure they claim to see and hear, the one that apparently wants to take their souls? Where does this fucker come into play? And why? None of it makes any sense, but sense isn't exactly one of their strong suits in their case anyways. At any rate, the way these things usually go with any serious paranormal research group is they will pick up a case, presumably by spinning a bottle on top of a Ouija board and letting the spirits pick the best ones, and then proceed to spend several weeks, if not a couple of months, using a wide variety of illegitimate and unscientific techniques, each with their own illegitimate and unscientific gadgets that they bought in an Amazon ghost hunting package, and then may be lucky enough to catch one chair moving on camera, prior to anybody actually pulling the string they have attached to it. But not this TV show of super ghost hunters. They catch some absolutely incredible things, also known as normal apartment sounds, in presumably only a single night of investigating. I don't know, it could have been longer, they don't really say. They hint at the idea of it being a multi-day or multi-night investigation at the very beginning of the episode by putting in the bottom left corner, day one of investigating. I don't know, it could have been longer, they don't say. I think that could probably just be a illusion. to make it look like they're there longer than they actually are. Besides that fact, their clothes only seem to change once from the initial interviews at the beginning of the episode and remain the same throughout the second parts of the overnight investigating. I think most likely the situation is that the producers had them change their clothes from the interviews to maintain the multi-day investigation charade. Or they just got hot and took off their totally metal hoodies. It's all up for speculation, as is everything this fucking crew does. Okay, before we get into the footage during this episode that I'd really like to take a look at, I really want to address something that has bothered me for a long time involving these assumptions that the entire paranormal culture decides to take. And it's this theory that because a certain area has had a lot of tragedy or a lot of death specifically in it, that it now will have a higher chance of being haunted. This is conjectured bullshit, and it needs to be addressed. First of all, through the history of human beings, that about 107 billion humans have died on the earth prior to 2019. So that's a lot of fucking dead people. Where are all the fucking ghosts? Of course, you diehard believers will now say that, well, not all humans that die have unfinished business on earth or died in a tragic manner. Okay, let's entertain this malarkey for a moment. It is well agreed upon that approximately 90% of the deaths in the developed world's population end of natural causes, such as old age. So that leaves us with around 9.7 billion ghosts that are from humans that died of natural ways. Now, at the risk of getting too into the subjectivity of what constitutes a tragic enough death to create a ghost, I simply subtracted the number of deaths which were probably from diseases and famine, which on average in the entire history of humans is about 1 in 8,000. Shocking, right? At any rate, this leaves us with about 8.92 billion ghosts wandering the earth right now. That leaves about 1 in a quarter, a little less than 1 in a quarter ghosts per every one human. So where are they? We should literally be swimming in ghosts on a nightly basis, but we aren't. I know there are some pretty inaccurate numbers drawn from some pretty unprecise statistics, but I think that the point is quite clear. The theory that because someone died within a specific location means fuck all. There's no evidence to support this claim, so stop fucking claiming it. What is really funny to me is later in this video specifically, when they cannot garner the response that they want from the little girl that died in the place, they then say that maybe the haunting in this place has nothing to do with the deaths that took place there. So why then fucking even bring it up? It's so goddamn stupid. Okay, so here's some of the footage that I wanted to show you guys that's from this investigation. This is the first like real interesting stuff that they do. It's just some knocks and some bumps, coincidentally, right after they ask for a sign from the spirit. I mean, lucky fucking investigators to get such polite fucking ghosts.
I actually had the uneasy feeling just outside the door. It's like you're just weirded out. It's like your chest is tight.
Okay.
I didn't hear shit.
I've got a little girl myself.
Congratulations.
Holy Did you hear that?
Yep.
There's something black that went right.
Sounds like something, somebody shaking something exactly the same way twice. It's exactly what it sounded like, with somebody moving a box, shaking it twice. Like, or a producer who's standing behind the cameraman, recording the cameraman, made a signal and said, now, and which means time to act like you just heard something. And then they added in lazily the exact same sound effect twice in a row, layered on top of each other. That's what it sounds like.
Self.
Yeah, that is the exact same noise twice in a row. Like you can actually hear on almost like a popping noise in between the first iteration and the second iteration, like it was looped. That's fucking edited in there. I mean, I would be willing to put a lot of fucking money on that being edited in there. That just sounds too perfect and 2 back to back for it to be a legitimate sound somewhere in there. But who knows? I wasn't there. That's just my opinion on it. Additionally, for fuck's sake, it's an apartment complex. Did they ask all the other tenants to leave the building on this night? And looking at it from the outside, this building, this place is falling apart. It's either other tenants moving around or an old building settling, or it's staged, like I said. Any are just as likely as the others in my mind.
The banging comes from the room we were just in.
You see, the banging comes from the room we were just in, almost as if the weight of them being in that room, and then a moment after they leave the room, the house resettles to where it was prior to them being in the room and makes some creaking noises. It's just, you got to think about this shit. You can't just immediately assume it's a fucking ghost. That's just dumb, and it advertises what you are looking for in that situation. You're not thinking clearly. You are not looking for something legitimate. You are looking for something very specific, and at any opportunity that potentially happens, you immediately go to that. That's just a horrible way to think and a horrible way to investigate. As if it's a spirit playing Follow the Ghost Hunter. It's just dumb. Come on. Now, throughout the investigation, they set up these alarms by supposedly active areas, like a closet door. The alarms they use are fucking useless. They can be triggered by literally fucking anything. And without the camera that's focused on them really showing anything other than the device going off, it means fucking fuck all. It means nothing. You can't confer any evidence that that thing going off is legitimately the trigger of a spirit in any sense. It could have been triggered by anything. And using this as evidence is absolutely worth it. I find it really odd that they didn't show the footage of the trap when it was going off. That seems very, very odd to me, almost as if it didn't show anything. Next, they hear the voice of a child several times, and in the enhanced audio, it's very clear to me and to any other trained ears that the voice is coming from an adjacent apartment. It's muffled in just the right way, and it sounds like something. If you live in an apartment and you hear somebody in an apartment or 2 apartments down yelling or screaming, that's what it sounds like. It sounds muted. And they, of course, jump to the conclusion that it's the ghost of a little girl and not an actual little girl somewhere. But for the sake of this video, I'm gonna do you, the viewer, a favor and dive into this a little deeper. So at this point, there's going to be a voice of what is presumably the ghost of the young girl who was murdered there. I'm gonna let you have a listen to it.
Holy shit, do you hear that? Holy shit, do you hear that?
It sounds like somebody's belly grumbling, and then the sound of a little girl running around outside. And the reason I think that is because this motherfucker looks directly towards the window. It obviously came from outside, and they never addressed that because it would ruin the dumb theories that they have so far used to explain the activity they're experiencing. Then here in a minute, they call out at the spirit that they think is there and say, "You're not a little girl." But it obviously sounds like one. And then a moment after that, they begin asking the spirit, "Why are you pretending to be a little girl?" Which fits nowhere in any of the narratives they've set up in the first place. Maybe it means that they're trying to talk to the tall, dark dude that wants their souls. I don't know. It's so very unclear and disorganized. It makes absolutely no fucking sense if you think about it. If you're just watching this to get spooked and you're watching it because you really want to believe or truly do believe that this shit is real, then yeah, this looks really legitimate. But let's be perfectly honest here. The voice happens, the main investigator looks directly at the window. It sounds like it's a human little girl. It does not sound like it's a muffled spirit trying desperately to contact the other side or from the other side. I think it's staged one way or another. Either the investigators are aware of it or they aren't. For sure the producers of the show are aware of it though. Don't fool yourself on that one. Next is the voice of a little girl about a half an hour into the episode that calls out for her mommy. I'm going to let you listen to it.
We believe that there, may have been victims in this room.
Okay, so this time they immediately, even after hearing what pretty much sounds like the exact same type of young child voice, they immediately go, "Oh, it's a little girl," instead of saying, "Oh, it's a dark figure or a male trying to act like a little girl or something." It, like I just said, it does indeed sound like a little girl saying "mommy." They show the recording from the first floor and then they show it from the second floor, but the voice recorded is completely fucking different. I don't know if that's just lazy editing or that was done by mistake, but it seems very odd to me. This is right after they do a tiny little spirit box section, and I'll talk about that bullshit more here in a minute. But supposedly they hear the spirit box say it's cold or it's getting cold, so now he's feeling around, says it's cold in front of him. It's fucking not. He thinks it is. And then they hear another disembodied voice. Now, they put the text up on the screen. They use that to indicate that what they think it is. They think it's a voice saying "help me," which obviously helps one of the many narratives that they are trying to push forward in this episode. But after I've listened to this 100 times, it honestly just sounds like a kid saying "mommy" again. It's just a longer, drawn out "mommy." And then of course the kid again here in a minute says, "Find mommy." This is all followed by more yells from what is so blatantly obvious and clear that I beg to question the sanity of anybody who finds it to be a fucking ghost. But the only reason they conclude that it's a ghost is because of their assumptions about the paranormal, a priori, which is the biggest faux pas in all of these investigations. You can't go into a place with that kind of mindset and then immediately use that very frame of mind as reference or as evidence to label the happenings as a haunting. That, my friends, is called reverse logic and cannot be and should not ever be taken seriously or taken into account in any sort of investigation. I mean, they didn't even mention the idea. Maybe a child is near that either woke up from a bad dream or woke up to a babysitter they didn't like or is watching the Teletubbies and is rightfully terrified. Or, God forbid, is a child that is literally in real fucking danger or distress, in which this family should have called the fucking cops, not TV's worst ghost hunters. But we already know how this family feels about the local PD anyways. So, moving on from that. How does a normal human being hear that and think ghosts before they think there may be, in fact, another child somewhere in the rest of the apartment complex? I'll answer it for you. It's fucking faked. Anybody else find it odd that the very first night of this investigation, literally everything the family advertised that they had experienced and gone through happens in a matter of a couple hours? Get fucking real. That shit just does not happen. It's unrealistic. I won't analyze either of the spirit box sections too much. The practice is a fucking joke. The tool being used is absolutely worthless. It's a 21st century equivalent of snake oil, using literally the same randomized type of programming found in most casino slot machines. It cannot be taken seriously, not to mention the human ear's propensity to experience auditory pareidolia, where our brains fill in the missing blanks that our ears send partial information regarding. This is extremely evident at the timestamp of 35 minutes and 34 seconds, where I hear a number of different things, all quite distinctly different from what they advertise on the screen in text. It is a pseudoscience and should never be used in reality. All these spirit box sessions are followed by some really shitty handheld camera work and a whisper that says, "I'm here," which is by far the easiest thing to fake in these circumstances at the point of this investigation, as well as a "let's go" that is easily explained away by any parents who will just tell you it sounds like a kid who's getting tired and having a fit. In this case, probably from running around this apartment complex all night being told to yell "mommy" over and over again. All right, so real quick here before I finish this up, I'd like to talk about the oscillating radio frequency detector that I guess they had a company build for them. It's fucking it's just like the spirit box. It throws out numbers and pulses within the electromagnetic frequency and radio waves over a span of time. That's all it shows, and this could indicate literally fucking anything. And to go over an area and scan an area and then say, "Oh, look at the readings change, it must be because the bodies of the victims were found right here." But in order to conclusively say that, you have to tear up those fucking floorboards and look underneath there and make sure there aren't wires directly underneath the carpet or the wood floor there. Because literally anything that has electrical current going through it is going to give off any sort of reading like that. This is bullshit, and it's smoke and mirrors, and it's brilliant the way that they use it to convince fucking idiots that watch this shit that there is something legitimately paranormal going on here. There fucking isn't.
The space is boundless. If not, then its boundaries.
At this point in the episode, it all comes down to how trustworthy the ones doing the investigation are, and I find the answer to be not at fucking all. These guys may believe themselves that they're doing good, that they're doing right by the viewer, but honestly, they're just being told what the producers want them to do. And they're making shit tons of money for doing it. And here we are at the end, like a wonderfully stupid Hollywood film. They finally get to ask the big question to the ghost. Did Kevin Keith kill the people in this house? And who did kill him if it wasn't you? What happens next is absolutely amazing. No, they don't get a legitimate answer. No, they don't take the recording to the courthouse and solve the crime. No, they don't get to save the man from jail and end up ruining his chances to finally meet Kim Kardashian. They hear some jumbled bullshit on the spirit box and add text to indicate what they think it's saying, making it appear that the restless spirits are helping them with their own murder case. In reality, it's a random scanning of radio frequencies. Nothing more, nothing less. And the noises that it produces are nothing more than arbitrary. Our ears hear what they want to hear. These investigators' ears hear what they wanted them to hear. And you, the viewer, hear exactly what they want you to hear by putting those texts up on the screen that are very, very suggestive. I could have 1,000 different people listen to this exact same soundbite, and I would get just as many different and conflicting ideas as to what is being said here. It's not a fucking ghost. They didn't help solve a crime. They aren't doing anything but wasting batteries and praying for more views than the last bullshit episode they released. Personally, I can relate to that latter argument. In truth, however, they have done little more than just show how much the education system has failed in the United States. A vast majority of an entire generation has completely lost touch with reality. And they've simultaneously shown how easy it is to take advantage of this situation by catering to the dum-dums, giving them something to stare at while they mindlessly drool, nodding in agreement that this is somehow all legitimate evidence of an afterlife. Listen, I wish I were wrong on all this. I truly do. Who doesn't like the idea of an eternal soul, and an afterlife, and ghosts? But there is too much to look far deeper into here, and far too many assumptions being made, hoops being jumped through it and whatnot, in a situation that has far too many severe implications to be taken seriously at face value from these shallow attempts to research something conclusively. However, I want to wrap this up by saying that this family may very well believe that there is something serious and some real dark shit going on in this place. But from a paranoid mind frame, anyone is likely to think there is something more going on than there actually is in reality. And I cannot rule out the possibility 100%. Again, nothing here is conclusive. Just some things are far more likely than others. That's what Occam's razor is about, is taking and understanding and believing the path which requires the least amount of assumptions. For fuck's sake, this is the same family that thinks a convicted murderer is innocent and that Kim Kardashian is going to get him off. Like get him out of jail, I mean. And to wrap this up, I don't want this to seem like a personal attack on the family, but I could never trust in the mental stability of a household that coats the walls with post-it notes of inspirational quotes. It's just fucking weird.